So we are starting now Yerushalmi Demai, Maseches Demai, Halacha Dalet, and the number will be 21. Daf Yud Chof Aleph. Hanachtumim lechiv ve'otzim chacham la'afish ele kedei trumas ma'aser. Hanachtumim means a big bakery, a commercial bakery. So chacham only mechayev, they should separate trumas ma'aser v'chala, v'loi ma'aser sheni. Hachenvonim, Genvonim means grocery stores. And Yerushalmi Demai. Chol mashpim b'mid gase, Yerushalmi Demai. Eila mashpim b'mid gase, kigoyin as toines omechet. Wholesaler sell in a very big quantity. They allowed to sell Demai. So we have three categories. You have nachtumen, they must separate, not meiser. Chenvonim, they must separate 100%. And Mizagase do not need to separate the Mai at all. Kamatanina. It says later on the Kechon Anachtem Kefti Meiser. It says there the details of this halacha. Hochat Omar Kech Ma'afish, Hochat Omar Nachtem Ma'afish. What's going on? Somebody who buys from a bakery. So we're assuming that means the Nachtem is himself also a chaver. And we're telling the Nachtem, you do not need to separate. That's what the Gemara assumption is on that Mishnah. Rabbi Yoina says on this question. So again, we have a contradiction from our Mishnah where it says that the Nachtoim has to separate. He can leave over the Meiser, right? But he has to separate everything else. He has to separate Trumas Meiser, right? The Meiser Sheni he does not need. And there he says that we leave over the separation for the buyer. Rabbi Saul Lieberman kan ba'oise b'tahara kan ba'oise b'tumah. So it depends. It says like this: if the bakery is doing b'tahara, so we want to make a separation b'tahara. So we tell the baker, you do it, because we have to be worried that it can any minute become tummy. It's very mitzuya should come tummy. So if it's clean, do it as soon as possible. ASAP. But if it's anyway Tom and it already, so why should you put it on his head, on his shoulder? And after we're trying to make it easier for him, as we see in our Mishnah. So we make it totally easier. We say you don't need to do anything. Let the buyer do it. Again, we're assuming here that everybody's a Talmud Chacham. The question is of who's obligated, who has to take care of this issue. So we say if you do b'tahara, the Nachtem should do it. If it's b'tumah, we tell the buyer to do it. The other one says a different answer. Kam b'mida dake, kam b'mida gas. K'shoifa harbe l'cheviu chachamim Nachtem klal. If he's selling a very big quantity, this Nachtem, then he does not need to do it. The rule is anybody who does b'mida gas is usually does not make too much profit. So that's why we'll make on him, even though it's B'tahara. We don't know from these two, from Birchen and Rabbi Blazer, who says what. Birchen said Metaharis, means he mentioned this word, that the reason why we're Mechayev the Nachtem is because it's still Toher. We want to get it done before it becomes Tomei. So he mentioned that this is the Mishnah, our Mishnah, that we're worried about Taharis. And the later Mishnah is not so worried, because anyway, Tomei, you say might as well, the person should do it. Reb Lozer is the one that answers the other answer. The question is, if it's a midadaka or midagasa. If it's a midagasa, we don't obligate the Nachtem to do it. Now I'm going to ask the question. Kasha al der Rabbi Yochanan it's I don't know if this question is only like Rabbi Yochanan. We can ask a similar question according to Rabbi Lazar. If it's a midadaka, And so, I don't know if it's only on Rabbi Yochanan, but you want to ask us on Rabbi Yochanan. In Bais B'Tahara, Yafshel HaKoil. In general, what is Pshat in our Mishnah? What is Pshat in our Mishnah that is part of a Ma'aser Sheni? You want to obligate him, okay, let him do everything. Why do you divide it? You say only do this, the other go. Why shouldn't he do everything? Especially if the reasons with Tahara, that's actually even stronger the kasha, because then we want it very badly, it shouldn't become tummy. It's a very good reason. Why are you waiting till it becomes tummy? So why are you giving some obligations for the buyer? Don't you want to separate matzah before it becomes tummy? And my answer is B'din hoya shelo yafish klum she'ein moisrim vada el am haaretz. B'din hoya shelo yafish klum. Very hard to understand the answer. What is he answering here? But din hoya shel yafish klum really is not meant to separate anything. It means really we have to, because I do it with tahara, do I have to suffer because of that? We say no. It's the job of the buyer. Ela she'ein moisrim vada el am haaretz. You just need to separate something. You cannot give over a vada el am haaretz. I don't understand the question so well. Yerushalmi Demai. It says in our Mishnah, only a grocery cannot not sell the mai. Rabbi b'shem blazer the may only tir limke demai el sitten belvat. Mishnah says our statement that a store or grocery store cannot sell the mai. So the Gemara says this goes like Rabbi Meir. Meir said that tir limke demai el sitten belvat. He's Rabbi Yosef, we must need to pliege. Yosef asked the question. It says, "Eile mishpim miladake, going to toins moichet vua. Have it's chornan. Mashma sheyesh gam acherim. What is that? Moichet vua. Alma must need some lavra mea. According to Rabbi Meir, it's only sitan. Mishnah is mashma. There's other people also besides the sitan. It's called that moichet tevua. So how can you say our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Meir? Even a balabayas that sells tevua is also potter, not only sitan. So how can you say our Mishnah goes a little bit Rabbi Meir? This din that Chamveni ain't a shoy limke demai. You're telling me it goes like Rabbi Meir that leitiru limke demai ela sitan. It's not true. It goes according to Chachamim also. The Blazer said this statement, that this Mishnah goes like a may, it's not true. This mission that says Chenvoni is not allowed to sell the Mai, that goes according to everybody. Ela Lado, the Tona of a Medva Mamurim. It part to nach dem Meister Sheni Mashi Moiche B'Chanusoi, El Pesach Chanusoi. Aber Moiche B'Palter, B'Chanusoi Samach Palter, he doesn't sell. When we say that a nachtem is potter, if he sells it on his own. Ma'aser ala koil. כשהנachtem moiche tchose bepalter, הרי moiche b'mida dake. So, if he has a palter, is a smaller setting, so then we say, he is mechuyev to be ma'aser everything, not only even ma'aser sheni also. Mishnah says that a nachtem is not mechuyev only to give trumas meiser and challah, but if he sells a palter, he needs to give everything. Alei chabrai b'shem Reb Lozer der Meiri. On this statement, the Chavrai say b'shem Reb Lozer der Meiri. This statement that it says Memedvar Mamurim, that if the nachtem sells in a palter, he must separate even Meiser Sheni. You don't give him that exemption. That goes like a mayor. Hiding a mayor. Master, Daka, make the begasse, mother bedaka, fail gasser daka. Das Lina Basar Hashta. Means even if you are usually selling your nachtem, but right now you're selling a midadaka, you're mechuyev to act like a midadaka. So here, when this nachtem, even if he usually sells a midagasa, but right now he's selling bepalter, a small scale, then Ermeya says you get the din of so you get a din of midadaka. So the Gemara now learns that this Mishnah, that the nachtem has an exemption of Meiser Sheni, is because he is midagasa. Before we had, by the way, that this Mishnah is talking about midadaka, but that's different mahalach. That's why he's mechuyev. But that's not get confused there. This mahalach goes that this Mishnah talks about a nachtem that sells the midah. The reason why he needs to separate, why he's potter from Meiser Sheni, because it's midagasa. If he sells palter, then he has to give Meiser Sheni also, but that's already considered a midadaka, like Rameya says, that you go basar hashta. Tona b'chiyaken, eshedarkoi, nimoded begasa, nimoded de bedaka oi begasa, feile daka legasa. You go after the normally he's midagasa. Eshedarkoi, nimoded bedaka, nimoded gesdaka, feile gasa, ktov do adin basar haderech, Loi basar hashta, not like your mayor. Go, what does he usually do? V'chan palta midadake, v'chanus midagasa. Palta is midadake. Chanus means a nachtem, the midagasa. Shveile daka legasa, v'chavina lei kedake. That shit is from mayor. V'chavina lei kedake. This is not like a b'chir. Meir Shita is, you go basar hashta, and right now he is doing a midadaka, because palter is midadaka. Chavrai b'shem Rabbi Yasa, ne'atenoikes shel yoichlin tevu. What is the reason why? It goes back to the Mishnah that Chenvoni, says the Mishnah, Chenvoni must separate ein Yerushalmi Demai. Chenvoni. Because who goes to a grocery store? Small kids. And the small kids they're not gonna do it on their own. So somebody has to do it for them. According to that, that's not because of midadaka, it's because the mixture of the kids. He's giving a general reason for the gas and the daka. But the Mishnah, the problem is the Mishnah by Nachtim here says that the owner must do it, and that the Gemara before said it because the Nachtim is midadaka, and now the Gemara says the opposite. Nachtim is midagasa. That's why it's part of a Ma'aser Sheni. So this is a little bit confusing here. What is the status of a Nachtim? The Mishnah is talking about three things that we said. Nachtim, Nechoyer Pashtas sounds that he has a din of midadaka. He's part of a Ma'aser Sheni, somewhere in between there, so you don't give him all the chumras of midadaka. And then there's shetoinus and moicher tevua. That's called midagasa. Moicher tevua means a balabayas. That's moicher tevua. And then the chanvani is a grocery store. Masit masiyah ladayim sit seden. Sit shal chavraya. Chami omar eshitof ladaka kedaka eshitof lagasa lagasa. Af im bederach mikra mocha daka chayev. Tenoikus. That is the chavraya, not tenoikus. What is it? This is the svara of tenoikus. As she tofel adaka kedaka, as she tofel legasa legasa. It means you have to act like a daka. If you sell for kids, I say you're selling for kids, so you're selling small portions. Hitofel means you're not really doing it, but right now you are actually tofel adaki. What does it mean tofel adaki? It means like the Mayor said there, it gets bottled, and we say you go after daka. Even though usually you sell mida. That's what it means. It's a very fancy way of saying, but that's what it means. You always have to go after daka. That's lamaisa don, even though you usually sell gasa. Tana b'shmol b'nei shabechan broika Omar Model le'vedaki chayv afil le'model le'il sa'or Heroiva tzorch la'asas oisa heroiva. The sa'or is midagasa, the heroiva is midadaka. So what does the law say? It depends who's mastaker. It all depends who's making the money here. Same person selling for the same guy. The roiva is obligation on the moicher because he's making money here. He makes money on a small amount, not on a big one. Omer avzeire cheshbon schar b'nein modle sa'or le'inyan revian hoiva moicher mastaker moicher mafish. The moicher makes money because if it's separate cups, the moicher is making extra money. That's why the moicher has to separate. He said, no, I want this 4 revian measured in one shot. So then the moicher is not making so much money. If he gives him one big sa'or, then the keich mastaker. The keich makes the money. So the moicher cannot charge for a big amount so much. You must give a discount. That's why, that's a din, such a case, not mistaker, so the keich is mafish. So this is the sugya here that's teaching us when the Chazal Machayev. We're talking here in the case where both are Talmidei Chachamim, or at least the Moiches for sure Talmud Chacham. The Moiches for sure Talmud Chacham, and you could tell him what to do. So we say, if the Moich is making money, he has to do it. If not, he can roll over the chiyuv on the keich, even though the keich might not do it. Even though the keich might. And we see that Meiser Sheni, they parted from the Nachton. Even though he has a shtickle din of Midadake, Meiser Sheni, they want to be matriachim. They said he can leave it over under the keich. Let's go a little bit further till we see the next Talmud. Me'ei Omer, Es Shadaka limded bedake imaded begasa. Feile daka legasa. This is a statement we had before already. Adam haragel. S means Adam haragel. A person that's his business. He usually sells small amounts. It means he makes a lot of profit. However, now there's a guy that comes. So Meir says we go after the current story, what's happening now. Right now you're selling a lot, you're potter. The other way around, usually you sell large quantities, but now you sell small. We say you go after now, and you do need to separate. The amount of a dinner. If he sells them without exact thing, he's potter. So this Tana gives amount of volume when it comes to dry. He doesn't give a shear, he gives the amount of money. That's the Rabbi says a little bit different. He says hin midagasa and hin lamaton midadaka. He gives for liquid a hin 12 look, tem toiman midadaka, and remal midagasa. Adaita the tan nosa shila lach, nosa shila yavish. He gets a quantity of lach, but for yavish, nosa damala yavish, nosa damala lach. Hein midagasa. Hin means a hin is a toiman means the amount that costs an eighth of a dinner. Midadaka, tim lamala midagasa. So for him, the money value is used when you come to yavish. Tanai Bezen who שתהי תרומס מייס משל מויכה ומייס שני משל keich. So he goes back to our Mishnah of the Nachton, but we still need a hesber. What is this whole thing that he divided the obligations? Because we don't find this anywhere. It's either the Moicha does everything or the keich. It's a midagasa, midadaka. What is it? So here, I'm assuming he says be'etzem, it's a midadaka, but we gave some leeway. We said Masashen should come from the keich. That's a Tanai Bezen. Achilnas a perigim, Achilnas a niyim demai sanya demai. Gamliel or Michael's a pe'am demai. Gamliel even gave for his workers demai. You have to know what's the story, how do they do it. Let's go on the Gemara. Rabbi Yoina, was nitzen ba nier Chaveirem Evachsanya Kepshua. What's pshat in our Mishnah? Say, Meticulously Demai. You give the poor people to eat Demai. It means that the Gemara ba nier Chaveirem Evachsanya Kepshua. We're talking about Chaveirem. So they will give meiser. It means there's no such heter. You can give the mai. What are you doing here? You're machshel people. So usually, even if chaverim, we had already a lot of times that you have no heter to give food the mai, even for a chaver. We had this before already. You're obligated. You cannot take out of your hands the mai. But here they're chaverim, so they know this halacha also that. And they have to separate, right? So usually we say that the chover is not allowed to take out of his hands if it's not separated. But here we say no, so that the people that get it, they should separate themselves. What's Torah Tachsanya? Torah Meis Bepshua Shalach Achel Abiyich Mazak LeBerachai Lebnei Yos Vinam Peves. When Bepshua Im Lonu Kan Chayovim Onila Aser Im Lavin Chayovim the Bein and Chotze Lekvoya. So we're talking about a case where it was no Kvias. What means Tachsanya? It means they are on the road. So they're not Mechuy B'chal to give Meiser. That's Shat. Tachsanya. You can give them even tevel, because they're not long, they're not trying to stay here. That's how he learns. Oh, I didn't realize that this. I'm sorry, I left out this Gemara here from Rabbi Yochanan, going back to Tanai Bez. Why doesn't the Moicher give Meiser Sheni? He's wondering around Mishnah, what's shot in this Tanai Bezin? That the Keich has to give Meiser Sheni from the Nachtem. He buys from the Nachtem. Imi the Gasse, Hoyle Keich Mastaka, Keich Mafresh. But Machia, the possible Moicher Michnesoi. What does it mean? It is selling his own things that grew by him. That's in between. Mid the gas, he's not making money, but if he sells his own stuff, then he is making something. So then they made a Tanai Bezdin, and he should separate. He should separate everything besides Meiser Sheni. But daitoy niskim mit zoyna ni vasaktem. I can only tell him basically she must meister shel moich mas shem shel kech. He's going with the gasa, and he wants to be extra nice. He wants to be masakim. You tell him, okay, you want to be a very Mr. Nice guy, but don't overdo it. Just take trumas meiser. The other thing about she tonight bezen. Who shehechelev mishal tabach gidanosh mishal lekeich. So the tabach has to take off the chelev. He can't sell it with chelev. The gidanosh has to buy the gidanosh and he takes it out on his own. So he actually pays for it because it weighs more. No. He said the lekeach, if you tell him that he has to chedem shel tabach, he should clean it, he's not going to clean it 100% because he wants to weigh a little bit more. So you tell him, no, you don't clean it at all. You can charge him as much as you want, and then the guy gives it back to you to clean it. That's the eitzah. That he should be menaka properly. So now we're just starting this Mishnah in Peri Gimel. We said Yerushalmi Demai. We know as a pe'am Demai. Now we're going to a Mishnah Gaboy Tzedakah. This is the hemshech of this Mishnah. Gaboy Tzedakah. V'shamei oimrim noisnan es hama'usah she'enim ma'aseh. You give something that's not ma'usah for the that's ma'usah for the enim ma'aseh. V'she'enim ma'usah l'ma'aseh. That's a trick to make sure everybody gets the right thing. So we divided that we collect in 2 boxes. The one that's mu'usser you give for somebody that does not master, for amorit. It's very okay. She'eni mu'usser, then you collect stuff from people that are amorit, they don't care. You give it to master. They know that they buy from amorit, they get stuff from amorit, they have to take off master. Nimtzu kol adam oichlem besukken. No, we don't make this whole game here. You just collect in one big box, give it out for everybody, and people that are Talmidei Chachamim are going to know it's the mind. They have to take care of it. The other guys are not going to take care. Can't help them. Okay, this is the end. I want to finish here. This is going to be Daf Chav Beis and Chav Gimel. Chav Beis and Chav Gimel.